He didn't just fire me, he destroyed my reputation, my income, and the life I had spent 10 years building. And he thought I would stay silent. He was wrong. Now, the story begins. Daniel Mercer was the kind of employee every company claims it wants. Loyal, consistent, invisible in his excellence. For 9 years he worked at Halbrook Financial Group, a mid-sized investment firm in Chicago. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't political. He didn't play office games. He simply worked. Late nights, early mornings, weekends when necessary. His boss, Victor Langford, was the opposite. Charismatic, sharp-suited, publicly admired. The kind of man who shook hands with clients and made them feel lucky to know him. Daniel respected him at first. Victor noticed Daniel's efficiency early on, promoted him twice, gave him more responsibility, trusted him with sensitive accounts. Or so Daniel thought. What Daniel didn't realize was that trust in Victor's world was transactional, and loyalty was a tool. It started subtly, small accounting discrepancies, transfers that didn't fully align, numbers that technically worked, but felt wrong. Daniel assumed it was oversight. He corrected them quietly, until one evening, while reviewing a portfolio, he saw something that made his chest tighten. Funds had been moved from a client's retirement account into a temporary holding shell, then redirected. The paperwork was clean, too clean. Victor's authorization code was attached. Daniel sat frozen at his desk at 9:42 p.m., office lights dimmed, city glowing outside. He checked again, and again. It wasn't an error, it was manipulation. The next morning, Daniel approached Victor carefully. "Sir, I think there's been a mistake in the Davidson file." Victor didn't even look up. "There's no mistake," Daniel swallowed. "The transfer..." Victor leaned back slowly and smiled. "That transfer," Victor said calmly, "is exactly where it needs to be." The air changed. Daniel understood. This wasn't oversight. This was strategy. Over the next few weeks, Daniel noticed more. Not theft in obvious ways, but subtle exploitation. Temporary movements of client money, short-term reallocations, investments that benefited internal partnerships before being returned. Technically legal, morally rotten, and dangerous. Daniel couldn't sleep. He had grown up watching his father lose his savings to corporate manipulation. He had sworn he would never be part of something like that, and now he was inside it. He faced a choice: stay quiet, keep the salary, keep the stability, or speak up. He chose the wrong method. He confronted Victor again, this time more directly. "This could hurt clients," Daniel said firmly. "If this is audited..." Victor's eyes hardened. "You're getting emotional." "I'm being responsible," Victor stood up. "You work for me, not the other way around." That was the moment Daniel understood something crucial. Victor didn't see him as a valued employee. He saw him as replaceable. 2 weeks later, Daniel was called into HR. Restructuring, they said. Performance concerns, they added. His access was revoked immediately. Security escorted him out. No warning, no severance, no explanation to colleagues. Within days, rumors spread. Compliance issues, internal breach. Victor controlled the narrative. Daniel didn't just lose his job. He lost his reputation. Other firms stopped responding. Recruiters ghosted him. His savings drained within months. Rent became stressful. Confidence collapsed. For the first time in his adult life, Daniel felt powerless and furious. But anger, when controlled, becomes clarity. And Daniel stopped reacting emotionally. He started thinking strategically. He reviewed everything he had ever handled. Emails, archived files, backup drives. He had always been organized, meticulous even. Victor had relied on Daniel's efficiency. He forgot that efficiency leaves trails. Daniel didn't hack. He didn't steal. He simply collected what was already in his possession. Legally archived communications, time-stamped approvals, digital paper trails that showed patterns. Not one incident, a system. Victor hadn't been careful. He had been confident. Confident people get sloppy. Daniel consulted a lawyer quietly, not with revenge in mind, but with protection. The lawyer reviewed the documentation over several meetings. and finally said, "This isn't just unethical, this is reportable." Daniel's heart pounded. If he filed a formal complaint, this would explode. He would be blacklisted permanently in that industry. But if he stayed silent, others would suffer, and Victor would continue. For weeks, Daniel hesitated, until one night he received a message from a former colleague. "Hey, off the record, be careful. They're using your name internally to justify some decisions." That was it. They weren't just removing him, they were burying him. Daniel filed the report, not publicly, through regulatory channels, with documentation, precise, organized, undeniable. Then he waited. Silence stretched for months. He started freelancing to survive. Smaller projects, consulting gigs, no prestige, but peace. Then, one morning, headlines surfaced. Halbrook Financial under investigation. Senior executive suspended. Victor Langford's name was there, clear as day. Audits uncovered patterns. Client funds temporarily misused. Internal manipulation. The same patterns Daniel had documented. Victor didn't go to prison immediately, but he lost everything else. Position, reputation, board support, industry trust. People distanced themselves quickly, the same way they had distanced themselves from Daniel. A year later, Daniel received a call from a regulatory investigator. Your documentation was critical. He didn't feel victorious. He felt calm, because he hadn't destroyed Victor. Victor had destroyed himself. Daniel had simply refused to be collateral damage. Rebuilding wasn't fast. It wasn't glamorous, but it was clean. Daniel eventually started a small independent advisory firm. Transparent, client first, slow growing but honest. He worked fewer hours, slept better, and never again ignored red flags for the sake of comfort. Years later, someone asked him, "Was it worth losing everything?" Daniel paused. "I didn't lose everything," he said quietly. "I lost an illusion." Because sometimes, the worst thing someone can do to you is force you to see the truth. And sometimes the person who ruins your life actually saves your character. The end. Moral of the story. Power without integrity always collapses. Silence protects the corrupt, but courage exposes them. And sometimes, when someone tries to destroy you, they unknowingly push you toward your real purpose.